Good day, everyone. Welcome to the Post-Roe Show. I'm Nicholas Check.
I'm Bekah Compton.
Today we'll be interviewing Jamie Curry and Allison Stump. All right, cool. So we're back with Allison Stumps in the radio station. Jamie's just over the phone. Jamie Curry is from Students for Life. She's the Ohio Regional Coordinator. She helped get our group then started. Allison Stump works for the Diocese of Toledo. Also played a big role in getting us to where we are today. So if you guys want to introduce yourselves very briefly then, or just tell us something quick about what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Jamie, do you want to go first over the phone?
Sure, absolutely.
Awesome.
Like I said, I'm Jamie Curry, the Ohio Regional Coordinator. So I am based out of Columbus, Ohio, and I help oversee all of the student-led pro-life efforts within our state. So there's about 80 groups that I work with and get to mentor, and I've been doing this for about 2 years now, and it's absolutely amazing, wonderful, and I get to meet great kiddos like these two.
She thinks.
Hey, we're adults now.
Yes, you are. You're younger than me, kiddos.
All right, fine.
I actually call people who are older than me kiddos. Sometimes it's just like a passing phrase, like, all right, kids, let's go. You know, so I just say things.
One thing it's funny, some guys call each other bud or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned one of the most degrading things is when someone younger than you calls you bud, and you're like, okay. If you're older, you call them bud.
That's fine. Alrighty, Allison, you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, thanks, guys. It's so good to be with you this afternoon. My name is Allison Stump. I'm the Students for Life Coordinator for Catholic Charities, Diocese of Toledo. That's a mouthful. So basically, Jamie and I both on different levels serve our own spheres of influence to just ensure that we can protect baby humans, and we ensure that no woman has to walk alone in her pregnancy. So what that looks like for me specifically is I work locally while Jamie works statewide. Within the Northwest Ohio area for me. So the Diocese of Toledo is 19 counties, lots of farmland, lots of variety when it comes to the group that I'm specifically supposed to serve, which is our Catholic schools. But we know that so many of our pro-life generation folks are in public schools. They're in the Protestant Christian schools. They're homeschooled. So I know I'll speak for myself, but I know Jamie as well. We do our best to just serve every student wherever they are. And we're just so excited now. This for me as well. I've been doing this for almost 3 years now. It'll be 3 years this coming summer. So it's been awesome to work with both of you specifically, because you guys have been in it from the beginning. You guys are one of the first students that I was able to encounter when you guys were, just little youngins, and now you've grown so much in the last few years and have matured and have developed in your ability to feel confident, equipped, and activated as advocates for life now, and especially in a post-Roe world, but now in the situation we currently face as Ohioans as the next abortion state.
Mm-hmm.
So my job now is to help you guys navigate this new reality, and whatever changes may come, to feel like you guys have the mentorship and the love, the support, the community, the resources, all the things you need, the spiritual help, to feel like you're ready to go out there and serve those most vulnerable among us. So that's what I do.
That was good.
Oh.
Also, I didn't realize you've only worked for Catholic Charities for 3.5 years.
Like 2.5 right now. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I must have misheard you. Like, wow,
yeah,
I didn't.
Short time.
Gosh,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have guessed.
Yeah. So
That's crazy.
I have been here since July of 2021. Prior to that, I gave a year of service out in Chicago. That was what I did right out of college when I graduated from Walsh University, which is near Cleveland, Ohio, little Catholic school. So I got my bachelor's in theology and philosophy there, and graduated on Sunday at home from Zoom in my pajamas, because we all know what happened in March and April of 2020, of course, and we need not beat that dead horse by talking about it. But that left me with a lot of questions. As young people, our lives are basically just one big question mark, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, God, what do you want me to do? What's your calling for my life? What's my vocation? What are my interests, my passions, my priorities? What's my calling, right? So obviously, at every big milestone, we start to really ask those questions in a deeper way, right? Like graduating from university, of course, that's a huge, now what? You're going out into the real world. You're an adult. You're expected to have all these responsibilities and have it all figured out, air quotes. But then especially in the middle of something like a pandemic, it's, and then having a degree in theology and philosophy as well. Like, really, Lord, now what, right? What am I going to do with this? When nobody's in person, nobody's interacting with each other. Community has just been decimated since COVID. So I think it's really beautiful that Jamie and I both, I think we got to be part of during that process, and now in the wake of it, we got to be part of an effort that, through Students for Life or other things, we get to rebuild those community structures that have been so lost, like helping you guys as students, where unfortunately, like, you guys are younger, like a lot of students have never known a world outside of all of this, right? Yeah. So lacking that ability to make those personal connections in a way that, like, I guess we did before, and we've had to adapt, right? But like helping you guys know that you can make a difference out in the world, but also helping you feel like you have the tools to adapt as things change, as the world is constantly changing in a way that's really impactful. But yeah, maybe Jamie should jump in at this point, because I've gotten on a train there.
You're fine. We learned a little about like where you went to college and kind of how you reached but Jamie, if you'd want to share how you've reached where you are today as the regional coordinator for Ohio.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll try and give you the short version, because it can go on and on and on. So the running joke is I came out of the womb thinking I should have been protected. So I was never sat down in my life and really talked to much about the life issue. Now I'm cradle Catholic, right? So I always knew, we're pro-life and stuff like that, but no one ever like explained it to me or fully talked to me about it. But I do have all of these like odd situations, and to the secular world, I guess they'll call them odd. To me, I call them God. Situations where it was just so apparent that he was working through me, leading me to this movement. So before I even got fully involved with Students for Life, I got involved in college. In high school, there were two different situations where I encountered in high school my senior year, where a friend came to me and she had told me she was interested in pursuing birth control. And this was before I knew what I did about birth control. I knew I wouldn't do birth control, but my friend came to me and asked for my help in this. And she said, well, we'll go to Planned Parenthood. I know it's free. And I said, no, we don't go there. They do abortions. How did I know that? I have no idea. And then fast forward a couple months, we went on a school trip. I lived in Wisconsin at the time. We went to the Madison, Wisconsin, the capital. And there's this pizza shop, Ian's Pizza. Everyone boycott Ian's Pizza. But they allow the employees to wear whatever clothes they want. Oh. And I'm there with 250 kids from my grade. And they're the workers wearing an I Stand with Planned Parenthood t-shirt. And I told the teacher who was leading our field trip, who was the advisor for the Young Democrats group at my high school, I won't be eating there today. So either I'm going to go hungry, or you need to find somewhere else for me to eat, because I won't support that.
Wow.
I had no idea where this was coming from. But fast forward, I go to college, and right before I left for college, I met a friend, and he shared with me his story. He was conceived and raped. His mother was 19. He went through the foster care system, and all of these different reasons. I sat there and I looked at how much of a profound impact he had on my life. And then he was every reason that the abortion industry on the TV, I would hear my dad watching Fox News from like the living room, said that, we need abortion. His mom was a teenager. He was conceived in hate. He was African American. He went through the foster care system. And so I went to college and was like, man, maybe I should do something about this. And there were no opportunities for me at my school. So I worked with some other girls and kind of fell into it and got it started, and just so happened to be following Students for Life on Instagram, sent them a DM. It just took off from there. And by my sophomore year of college, I knew that I wanted to be a regional coordinator somewhere. I just didn't know where, but I was willing to go wherever God needed me. And that's how I ended in Ohio.
I thought you were going to say Hawaii.
Yeah, Hawaii.
I was like, Hawaii.
Gosh, she wishes.
No, Ohio.
The regional coordinator of Hawaii. Doesn't that sound like a fantastic job?
That really does.
The person who has Hawaii also has Alaska, and I'm like, I
Oh.
don't think that's fair. You get both.
Yeah.
Like,
Do you
so
want
jealous,
Alaska?
but
Like that's cold.
I mean, I think it would be so cool.
Yeah,
I think
it would be cool.
So cool. They only go about once a year, just because it is such a trek. But I would definitely do it. If anyone from staff is listening, I will brave the cold in Alaska.
She's like,
awesome.
But I'll also brave the
I can do
beautiful
Ohio and
temperatures in
Alaska.
Hawaii.
Right. I'll take one for the team. So I
Yeah,
can go
take
on
one
the
to the
beach.
team. Yeah, I will take Hawaii. What a sacrifice.
Can you imagine what that kind of like? You
What a
remember the
sacrifice.
bonfire we did a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
Like imagine that, but just like on the beach.
Oh.
That would have been awesome.
We'd have a lot more kids.
We would.
Fair enough. But
Oh.
you guys had a big impact doing that in the space you were given, so
Mhm.
we'll take it.
Yeah, I think that's where we first met Jamie,
That was,
right?
Yeah,
Or-
that was.
That's where I first saw Jamie. I think you might have known her prior, or at least emailed her.
I don't know who got in contact with Jamie. It might have been my mom / the other like leaders
Mm-hmm.
got in contact because I don't think I talked to her personally, but it was.
Yeah,
Sorry. Sorry.
I met most of you guys at the bonfire.
Mm-hmm.
It's been, I don't know, a year and a half since then. 2
Mhm.
years, maybe.
Something like that.
I don't remember.
Something like that. It was the summer of 2022.
Mhm.
And yeah, and it's funny you bring that up because yesterday I was at Allison's alma mater giving a talk to different teachers and people who worked for the Diocese of Youngstown.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys were that picture of us at the bonfire was like the head of the PowerPoint because
Oh.
the Diocese of Toledo where Allison works and with all of you guys and stuff, you are paving the way for dioceses in the rest of the country, not just Ohio. And so it was really cool to be able to put together that presentation that we're going to use all across the country. But it was the picture of you guys, and I got to tell them all about the pro-life bonfire. They loved it.
Yeah, Jamie, I just want to touch on that a little bit because I don't we didn't come here just to flatter you guys, but I think it's worth your audience hearing and recognizing the impact that is happening, I guess specifically in this Putnam County, like Northwest Ohio area, because the country is looking at you guys right now. They're seeing what is happening in the Diocese of Toledo. They're seeing what's happening in Ohio in general. Like literally national eyes have been on Ohio since issue 1. But even before that, Students for Life nationally has taken an interest in all the things that you guys have been able to accomplish here. So no pressure, 1, but 2, also just like understand that everything you're doing is making an impact, and not just for here right now in Delphus or in Putnam County or in the Diocese of Toledo or in Ohio, but you're helping the future become future generations or future clubs be able to have an environment where they can operate in the most effective way to reach people who need those resources. So just kudos to you guys. That's
Thanks.
awesome.
I don't know, you can feel like
No, this is where you get them with the Uno reverse card, and you say, "Well, we wouldn't be here without you guys."
Yeah.
Well,
We really wouldn't.
Uno reverse card. Well,
But
thank
in all,
you.
like
but-
all seriousness, like it kind of blows my mind how fast everything has become. Like sure, like we went to the March for Life well before we started Students for Life.
Yeah.
And I remember when Bekah started talking about starting the Students for Life Club, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds neat. I've never heard of Students for Life," and mainly because I didn't have social media. But now that I have social media, I didn't realize how big it was. But yeah, but it's so cool just to meet you guys, and you guys are like fantastic role models, and I know it was like there's like 3 people in particular like I really look up to when it comes to pro-life movement that I really want to keep pushing forward. It's you. Well, I'm sorry, I can't talk to it. It's Jamie, Allison, and also I'm gonna mention Ella just very briefly.
Oh,
Their
Ella.
group is like they're fantastic. They're like my little like squad of cheerleaders. They really they hype me up so much and make me want to just keep on going. I'm like, gosh, the Collide group is really like they're terrific, and Putnam County. I'm really blessed to have been born here. It's a great place.
It is. I remember when hearing about Students for Life for the first time, it was Mom, and she was giving a talk or something, and she was like, "Oh yeah, Students for Life, this thing, we have a meeting," and I was like, "What? That's a thing. That's a thing that exists." And she's like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "I need to go," and so I went. And I mean, it was the coordinator before Jamie.
Jordan.
Yeah, Jordan.
Jordan.
And yeah, he pointed to actually Alyssa first for saying she was going to start the group. And in my head, I'm like, no, she's not. No, she's not. I already planned to. It's in my head now. Can't get it out.
Bekah's like, I call dibs.
I called dibs. Didn't tell him that, but I called dibs on it. And so then literally one day after school, I was like calling my mom. I was like, Mom, should I ask my principal? And she's like, I mean, you can if you want. And I'm like, okay. So I went in her office and I asked her. And she was like, yeah.
That's great.
And we had a conversation about it.
Isn't it nice when schools are kind of open to just like letting you walk right in?
Mm-hmm.
Like I had a really easy time getting it on my college campus. It was terrific.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a
You
testament.
guys are very blessed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Well,
Yeah.
I'm sure Jamie. I'm sure you have some stories about that. Like, you want to share? Like,
Yeah.
what's a story you've had with pick a college? Think of one college that you had or school, high school, whichever, that gave you a really hard time.
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear about it.
I won't give you the high school by name, but I'll give you
Yeah,
the college
just give it-
by name.
Sure.
I'll flame the University of Dayton because they're a quote unquote Catholic school. So the Flyers for Life, wonderful, amazing, strong kids. Lucas is a rock star. He's their president,
Mm-hmm.
but they're in Dayton, Ohio.
Mhm.
So this is the University of Dayton, but they won't allow me, the administration, to come to their school. I'm not allowed to give training. I'm not allowed to table. I'm not allowed to put up flyers. I'm not allowed to step foot on their school because last year when we did the This Is Chemical Abortion display,
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
some girls came up to the table and then started barking at us and ran away.
Like-
And the police were called because they were barking. And
That's
so
your fault.
they just shut the whole thing down.
Oh,
This is a Catholic school.
Yeah. That's
Crazy.
that is crazy.
But they just do everything by themselves, and I just send them all of the materials. And so
Yeah.
they just do it without me, and they text me when they need help, and it's amazing how resilient they are, because since they are a private school, as long as they equally enforce not allowing other people onto their campus,
Mhm.
it is completely legal. Now, are they equally enforcing it? I don't know, but I can't be there to check. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, and high schools are sometimes more difficult. The biggest issue is, I would say, is Catholic high schools saying we don't allow outside people either.
Mm.
Retweet.
And so
Really?
They
That's an
just-
old person
they
thing to
won't
say.
allow you in or let you through the door, or a lot of schools, sometimes this is their first group and this is their first club, and they don't even have policies on how these clubs can operate.
Mm-hmm.
And so because of that, it allows for discrimination, or just not people to be treated the way that they necessarily should be. And I see that quite often more at the high school level, because, administration can walk over high school students a little bit more.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just they're younger, and we always should look up to administration, but yeah, this is my little spiel to always defend, your right to be able to speak and such. But yeah, I see this all the time in Cleveland is a big area with high schools that have some issues. So
I think that's a testament to why, if you're listening to this podcast or this video and you're thinking about getting involved in Students for Life or just starting your pro-life club in general, maybe you already are part of one, make sure that you do know your rights as a student on campus, whether you're in high school or in college or med school, grad school, whatever it might be. Reach out to Students for Life of America or some other pro-life organization that is in the know about what the law says about your rights, because especially in Ohio, we actually do have some pretty great laws that protect students' rights, especially at public schools, but should be all schools. So I think it's easy for young people to let adults walk over top of them, because we're told from a very early age, you got to raise your hand to go to the bathroom. Like, you have to be obedient, which of course, always be obedient in the way that is God ordained, right?
Yeah.
But God doesn't ask us to be obedient to things that go against his law, right? That go against truth, goodness, and beauty. So if your principal or your administrator or a teacher, or even like if you get a bad advisor or something like that, and if they're treating you differently just because you're pro-life, you don't have to stand for that. It's okay to advocate for yourself or let somebody else advocate for you as well, like Students for Life. So that's why I love promoting Students for Life's resources, because it offers you such a fleshed out framework. So you don't feel like you have to do it all on your own. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, because all of it's done for you. It's laid out, it's spelled out exactly in a way that has worked and has been time tested all over the country. So it's been great to promote that for sure.
Yeah. Man, I wouldn't have guessed Dayton, but
I wouldn't.
good to know. Yeah. I was wondering, I'd heard a few things from like Morgan Reese and her talking about stuff that's gone on at like BG, and like, so I'd wondered if maybe there was some story there, but yeah, good to know.
Oh, there are lots of stories.
Oh, I know. There's an unlimited amount of stories.
You can do a horror stories
She
episode
can
at some
tell
point.
her stories. You should have her on if you haven't yet. She actually, I don't know if you guys know, she will be starting as my intern January 8th.
I saw that.
She was just hired. She was just hired by Students for Life. Really excited to bring her on. Just a plug, our fellowships do open January 5th. It's the best way to get a job with us or in the pro-life movement. I was involved in the fellowship. Morgan's currently involved in the fellowship. She hasn't even graduated the fellowship yet, and we already hired her. So,
well, honestly, it would be a waste not to. She's too smart. It would be a waste. I've got the chance to meet her a few times. We'll talk to her a few times, and yeah, she's terrific in everything she does. Yeah, I really enjoy talking to her. I wanted to ask Allison. So you work for the diocese, but also you also work with Students for Life stuff. How did you guys make that connection of working for Catholic Charities and then also kind of working for Students for Life? Like, how did you get, like, how did that work?
So, I guess to sum it all up in one word, perseverance.
Okay.
It's super important in this line of work. You just have to persevere. Oftentimes you'll go after something and you'll be told no. But you have to keep going after it. You have to be persistent. You have to wear down the lies of the enemy. You have to wear down people who are in opposition or discriminating against you. You just have to keep speaking up and advocating for yourself, praying, all that kind of stuff. But to answer your question more specifically, the position that I now fill, Students for Life coordinator, it's been this process, 7 years in the making before I took the job. So the person who hired me, Peter Range, he's now the CEO of Ohio Right to Life in Columbus. So he does statewide pro-life work, which is awesome. He's been essential in so many recent big things that have been happening, but he's a great mentor of mine. I had an internship with him as a college student when I was still at Walsh University. And I came and just served alongside him at Catholic Charities just for a summer, right? So that's what, it's all about who you know, right? You make those connections, maintain relationships with people, because even after I left that summer internship and I went on to finish college, and then I was living in Chicago when I heard from Peter again, and he gave me a call and he just said, "Allison, I've done it." And you guys may not know Peter as well, but for anybody who does know somebody like Peter Range, he's what I would call a visionary. So they have lots of ideas and they just need people to help keep them grounded, to be like the workhorses to do it, to make it happen. The practical people, me, right? Okay. So he gave me a call. I said, "Well, what'd you do, Pete?" And you're kind of scared because it's going to be awesome because he has great ideas, but also it means it's going to be hard. It's going to be great. So he just said, "Allison, I have been fighting for a position in the diocese that would be employed specifically by Catholic Charities through the diocese to work uniquely with students to help build the culture of life in the schools." Because Peter, at the time, he was the director of the Office for Life and Justice at Catholic Charities. So I work within that office now. But he was basically a one-man show when he was hired, 7 or 10 years before that, right? So he had to do all of the pro-life work by himself, right? So he had always had just this call in his heart. He knew that the way that we change the culture is to reach this generation of pro-life leaders and beyond, right? We have so many people who have been working in the pro-life movement for decades, since Roe versus Wade was handed down in the 70s, and that's great. But for this to be sustainable and actually to move the needle of society, we have to start reaching people at a young age to help educate them, inform them, because we know something that the other side does, like Planned Parenthood, they're really good at getting into the schools. They're in almost every public health class. They have videos everywhere. They're really good at reaching their audience.
Yeah.
And we know that if we're not having conversations that are based on truth, goodness, and beauty with students at a young age, somebody else is going to answer those questions that we will all inevitably have at some point, right? Because we all want to know about who we are, where we came from, where our sexuality. We want to know all of these big questions. We want to find answers. And I think for a long time, unfortunately, the church, I don't think intended to do this, but I think there's been kind of a culture that has developed within Christianity where anything regarding reproduction, like our sexuality, our human relationships, even our human dignity, we don't actually talk about that. It's taboo, right? So people have questions, they don't talk about it. Next thing you know, we're entering into risk behaviors, right? I'm getting on a tangent, but anyway, he saw this need where there's this whole population of people, like fertile ground that just needs to be tilled, that needs to be paid attention to, right? Plant those seeds, work the ground, right? So that God can grant the increase, as St. Paul tells us, right? Yeah. So he knew that he couldn't do it on his own because he had all of these adults that he was trying to serve and the students. He couldn't be in all places at once. So he begged literally for years, begged our bishop, the head of Catholic Charities, like just trying to get approval. And it took a long time to really build up support for that, to convince the wider community within our diocese of the need for this, right? Especially a full-time need, specifically through the diocese, because it could be easy to say, oh, let's just invite Jamie to start doing things, right? Or somebody else like Jamie. But the difference is Jamie can try to get into any school she wants. She can reach out. But if that person doesn't have like the bishop's seal of approval, and if they're not approved by the diocese, it's a lot harder to get into, especially our Catholic schools. So they knew Peter knew it's essential that we have someone who is like an insider, someone who is part of the diocese, who works closely with our Catholic schools department and stuff like that, so that we can have a more effective outreach to all of our schools to not just start pro-life clubs. Obviously, that's a huge part of it, but also just to develop relationships with you guys, right? Yeah. And I hope that's something I've been able to do somewhat successfully, and just to bring Jamie into that.
It's an understatement, but yes.
Oh, yeah, thanks. So, but that's, like I said, perseverance. Like, it took literally 7 years to get the funding and approval to do that. So when he finally got that, I was in Chicago. He asked me to come back to fill the job. So prayed about it. We talked about it, what that would look like, and now here I am.
I think we should thank Peter. Thanks, Peter.
Thanks, Peter.
Yeah, we appreciate it. We do, very deeply.
I owe everything to Peter.
We all do. We all owe Peter.
The job is very difficult without having help, and I am very lucky because if you guys, you guys don't know this, but Allison is the only one in the country who has this unique position. So we are very blessed and lucky in Ohio.
I did not know that.
And I am very lucky.
And I'm lucky to have you, Jamie. It's been awesome to work with you. But the cool thing and scary thing about my position, because I'm the only one in the country doing it, I have a question. I'm like, how do we do this? And they're like, I don't know. You're the first one. So it's a lot of trial and error, which is okay. But that's why I'm also grateful that I'm not just like a pro-life student coordinator of some sort. I'm the Students for Life coordinator. Yeah. Bringing specifically Students for Life resources, and bringing Jamie or Jordan before her, or anybody that might come after Jamie, bringing specifically those resources because they're top of the line. They're like the best of the best resources that we have to offer our students. So that's why I'm grateful that, like, maybe I'm the only person in the country doing what I do specifically within a diocesan perspective, from the Catholic perspective, but we have people who already have worked out the framework nationally, so we know what works and we can implement it right here in Ohio.
Now I have a question.
Yeah.
What is your guys' favorite part of your job?
Oh gosh, Jamie, you want to go?
Sure.
Yeah.
This is always what trips me up whenever I think about maybe moving into a different position within Students for Life or whatever. But my favorite part is connecting with students and staying connected with the same students. I love working with you guys, watching you grow. I'm a very much like person who connects. I studied psychology. I know how important it is to invest in you guys. My second favorite part would be rapid response, but that's just in my nature, and I will always do that regardless of wherever I am. But I always say, I tell people this all the time, I didn't study to be a teacher, but I'm the world's luckiest teacher. I have over 1,000 students that I get to know by name and work with, and they want to work with me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's awesome.
Can I be like best or like happiest teacher in the world? Because I also agree. I have the best.
Happiest teacher?
We should get them best teacher mugs.
Oh, that'd be great. Why'd you say it out loud?
It popped in my head, and then it was like, oh my gosh, I have to say this out loud.
It's really ironic because when I was your guys' age, and well, you guys are like basically young adults, so younger. When I was in middle school and younger, I swore up and down, I will never, ever, ever, ever be a teacher. Couldn't do it. Didn't want to do it. I just thought I would be so unhappy, and I am a very impatient person by my broken nature, unfortunately. And I just knew what a terror I was as a child. So like, how could I ever handle the just desserts that would obviously like at the time I thought like the universe would throw back at me, right? When I wasn't really super into my Catholic faith. But now it's amazing. Like when you just start saying a yes every day to the little thing God's asking of you, maybe if he gave you the whole picture, I would absolutely say no, because obviously I said I would never be a teacher, right?
Yeah.
But I said yes to this little thing, and then that little thing, and then that little thing. Every little fiat led to me saying yes to something that I thought I would never be capable of doing, right? So like, I guess just keep that in mind for yourselves as well, that you don't have to say yes to the big picture. You're probably not ready for it yet, but just give your fiat, just like Mary did. We're in Advent right now, right? Just keep giving your daily fiat on just the little tasks that God offers to you every day. But that was not your question. And that was my TED Talk. Anyway, you asked the favorite part of my job, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. You'll notice like I'm like all over the place.
No, it's okay. We're here for it.
Keep me reined in.
We're here for it.
The favorite part of my job is this. I think I'll kind of echo what Jamie said, but especially, I mean, like I'm really blessed to be able to work for the church. So I'm able to live out my Catholic faith every single day. Which is awesome. And it's also a big responsibility. Like Spider-Man with great power becomes great responsibility, right?
Yeah. You heard it here, folks. Allison's Spider-Man.
I am not Spider-Man. I am not sticky.
You're what?
I'm not sticky.
Oh,
That's
okay.
a really weird thing to say on the air. Anyway, it's going to be a t-shirt now instead of the mug.
Yeah,
Please, no,
we'll get a t-shirt. Number 1 teacher, she's not sticky.
Oh, gosh. Please edit that part out.
No.
Anyway, oh my gosh. Anyway, that was gonna be like a really heartfelt statement where I was like, the favorite part of my job.
I'm sorry.
And I said,
I'm sorry.
not sticky. why am I in this interview right now? Anyway, the favorite part of my job really is, like just working with you guys for sure, and being able to do that in a way that I help. Obviously, like this helps me become a saint. Like it's forming me as much as I'm trying to form you guys as well. Like you're teaching me and showing me things that honestly, like I wish I would have had an opportunity like this when I was your age. I wish I would have had someone, I guess, in my position who was willing to walk with me and say that, no, like you're not the weird one for wanting to care about babies. Like, you're not alone in this. And there's a whole movement behind you ready to support you if you want to do this. Right. So that's just something that I find very fulfilling. And especially when you find students who are maybe on the fence, they're not really sure how they feel about the pro-life topic, or maybe they consider themselves pro-life, but up to this point have been very quiet about it because they're afraid of how their peers will react or what the school will do if they speak up in class or something like that. But to walk with them for a while and then to see them really just start to blossom and gain that confidence. It's nothing I give them, obviously, and Jamie, I'm sure, would repeat the same thing. It's nothing that we give them, but it's something that, like, for whatever reason, God has asked Jamie and I or other people in the pro-life movement to act as conduits, reservoirs of his grace and of his just his instruction, his direction, his mentorship, his love, so that then you finally see that light bulb turn on where like something clicks and they're like ready just to go out there and save the world, right? In their own ways, which is just super exciting. I think one more thing I will say is, like, one of my favorite things, you know, Jamie has the psychology background. I don't have that expertise, but something that I really love is like looking at an individual, looking at Bekah, looking at Nicholas, right? And saying, okay, you are an unrepeatable soul that has never existed before, will never exist in the same way again. But like, how has God asked you and you to serve the pro-life movement? How has God asked you to love in this world, right? because we all are called to defend human dignity. That's every single person is asked to do that, like commanded to do that, right? But like how we do that differs for each person. You all have your own experiences, your backgrounds. You have your own interests, your passions, your strengths. Yeah, your weaknesses too, right? And I love just to kind of like peel back those layers through those conversations. And as I get to know you guys more, I get to find out, oh, this is something that maybe you don't even know that you're good at, but like let's bring that out and see where you go with it, right? That's so fun. I love doing that.
Gosh, man, we really like we could just title this episode just like Nicholas and Bekah are flattered for.
It could be a whole combination video, you know?
Man.
Okay, now I want to ask.
This is the important question for
you want to do Jamie? You want to do Jamie's question?
The most
first?
important question.
Jamie.
Yes. Okay.
We have a very deep question for you.
Yes. So on our previous podcast, we were talking to Ella and Grace, and we were discussing how you're like terrific, like you're always ready to go. You're always like this like ball of energy, ready to go. Do you drink coffee?
Yeah, a lot of coffee. I'm trying to cut back, but I have always been a ball of energy. I'm just very outgoing, and I think, you know, being in gymnastics and literally working out 40 hours a week when I was doing that, really, you know, you had to have energy. I am trying to cut back
We're
for
teasing.
health reasons. And less caffeine you take helps with hormones and fertility and things like that. So I'm trying to cut back, but it's a slow and steady process.
We're just and don't get us wrong, we do like your energy, like it's so helpful in everything. Like it's so handy to have somebody who like, and I'm sure you get tired, but I mean like when you're out there like doing, I don't know, a tabling event or a march or something like that, you just like hype everybody up. And it's just like, it's so refreshing because you don't
never awkward.
Yes.
It's never awkward.
And it makes it so easy to also be hyped because you don't have to feel like you're the one who's like, oh yeah, I'm so hyped. And then you're kind of like, man, I wish everybody else would match this energy because you do fill in that real nicely. Yeah. Okay.
You really do.
Yeah. I've never actually got to feel the effects of caffeine. Like I work at a coffee shop and I'm like immune to caffeine. It stinks. Like when I first got a job there, I never drank any coffee, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be bad once I start drinking coffee because I never have caffeine. I started drinking it, and especially my mom's really sensitive to caffeine. And then suddenly I was like, well, this is actually doing nothing. Like, I'll have a cup of coffee right before I go to bed. Like I'm like, nice warm cup of coffee warms my insides, and I go to sleep.
Look at you. You're just on top of it. Superior to all caffeine. Good for you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna ask. You go first, Jamie.
I was gonna say it cracked the code because I don't know if that explains how Allison and I work together so well, but Allison does not drink coffee. So there's me, who is out of her mind wild, essentially. I'm so glad you guys like filmed the energy with me because I would be so sad, but that's one of the reasons I love rapid response because there's a lot of energy. But then Allison is like my like mellow to it, and it's probably because she doesn't drink coffee and she has her head a little bit tighter screwed on, but you know, it works.
Yeah, I bring all the calm and all the awkward. It's awesome.
I'm really bad at hype, I'll be honest. Like I
love hype.
I'm semi-okay.
I don't know. I've always been like soft spoken and like I'm just like I love one-on-one conversations, but like it's those big like at marches like I have a hard time even bringing myself to like yell. I'm like I'm trying, guys. I can't do it. It just
We're gonna do it this year.
I try.
You're going to yell Nicholas Check.
Yes.
When I yell, I just sound mad. I don't know how to do happy loud. I can only do like just loud.
Angry loud.
It doesn't matter at the March for Life. You just yell.
No, because you want to be nice.
Everybody around you is nice, so it'll balance out.
I guess.
You know? Yeah. And I do drink coffee sometimes. It's just not regularly. I'll drink for community. I'll drink coffee for community. So I've started to like it ever since I spent a summer in Italy. You had to drink coffee, otherwise you were an outcast. So I would gag down my little espresso with like 4 packets of sugar. And then as the weeks went on, I would kind of like take away 1 packet of sugar and then another packet. So now I can drink it.
She drinks it. She's like, that's literally delicious.
So much. Yeah, sorry, that was weird. So now I like a cappuccino or like a latte or I like different kinds of things. But if I drink coffee in It has to be the right situation. And if I need to be calm, I cannot drink it because my heart just starts pounding and I'm still tired and my eyes are still like trying to close, but then I'm just like jittery. So it's probably because I don't drink it regularly. So yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. Can I ask, what is your guys' least favorite part of your jobs?
Ooh.
Ooh.
Also us.
No. I can go. My least favorite part of my job is probably a couple things. One, myself, in terms of like seeing, I don't mean that in a self-depreciative way, but we all have our shortcomings and our limits, right? So when you're faced with your own human nature and the brokenness of your own human nature and how that can slow you down, that can be kind of frustrating sometimes to know, like, I wish I could just go. But knowing that, like Jamie mentioned, she's right. I'm introverted, right? Yeah. So I could do the crowds as long as necessary, but then I have to have that time of quiet to kind of recharge and stuff. So it would be great. Sometimes I do wish I had all of that, like the ball of energy or just even other ways that I wish that maybe I could tackle things a little bit differently, or I didn't have this fault or this thing. Maybe I wasn't so much of a brute. Maybe if I was more gentle, that would be awesome. Yeah. So that's something that makes it hard for me to do my job. Just like I make myself harder. I'm my harshest critic. The other thing I wish I wouldn't say I don't like. Maybe I don't like. I don't know. But an obstacle to doing this kind of work is people who should know better, and should be I'm going to reclaim the word ally. People who should be on your side and say they are, but then don't act like it. Yeah.
Amen.
We're very blessed in the Diocese of Toledo. We're not the worst diocese, so don't get me wrong. Everybody could always be better. We can always improve. So it would be great to see more improvement in certain areas, and I won't like call it anything out or put anybody under the bus, because we all are on a journey, right? We all have ways we can improve. So I recognize that, and I'm just grateful for the good that those people do offer. But it can be hard to be faced with just, like we have a perfect church filled with imperfect people. Yeah. Right. And we have a great movement run by imperfect people as well. So that can be kind of frustrating, just kind of running into the bureaucracy of like, yeah, we're a Catholic school, but we're not going to let you come in and talk about abortion because we want to talk about just social justice issues, which means we're going to talk about every issue except abortion, right? Jamie sees that all the time. Yeah. In Cleveland, I see it here in the diocese as well, which is unfortunate. So please pray for an increase in openness in the hearts of the students and leaders of those schools that I'm struggling with and stuff. But I would say, honestly, that's kind of the worst part of the job is like people who like it could be so easy. Like that should be a home run, knocked it out of the park. Like a Catholic school should be a place where you're welcomed, right?
Should be an easy walk-in.
Exactly. Like that's a place where I should be welcomed more than ever, right? Sometimes I have an easier time with my public schools than I do my Catholic schools, right? And that's the heritage that we've been passed down. And I'm so grateful for so many of the teachers that have started working at these schools who are trying to change the culture after decades of just like bad theology and stuff. They're trying to change, right? But this stuff doesn't happen overnight. So that's why I'm glad that I can be a part of that and work in spite of it. So, yeah. Jamie, what about you?
Allison. That was good. I have two things as well. They kind of go hand in hand. And one of them, actually, I would also say is myself. I care too much.
Yes.
And which is a hard thing to say, but I care too much. And I see every person that I encounter, whether it be on our side or not, or like, I just see them as someone who I can transform and change, and that's not always going to happen. And then like one of the ways that it bothers me so much is, and this goes back into how I am and then how other people sometimes are. And this is not a fault of some people, but some people don't trust what we do. And, you know, we always, and I know Allison and I talk about this all the time, but my number one priority first is your safety. And second is to make sure that you guys are accomplishing your pro-life dream in the best way possible. And a lot of times people do not understand understand our approach or strategy to things. Maybe it makes them a little bit uncomfortable. That's okay, but lean into this discomfort instead of never allowing Allison and I to ever talk to you again. And so, yeah, I would say like the hardest part of my job is to sit there and see when you're finally starting to build a relationship with someone and you give them advice, or you go to their school and you help them with a certain display, and you do it how you do it at all 80 other schools in the state. And then suddenly these people are like, we don't do that here, or that's not going to work here, or, you know, why would that work versus how we do things? So I'm like, I promise you, just trust me. I've done this for 60 years at 80 schools, my own school, 81, and all the schools I worked with when I was in college myself. And that's really hard for me because the person in front of me might not see that I'm trying to do what is best for them, but I know in my heart that's what is.
Yeah.
And that is so hard for me. And then I just have to go back home and pray because I'm like, you need to be humbled, Jamie. It is okay. Open up your heart, soften your heart, and, you know, listen to them and hear them out. And that's a fault of me and just of other people too. We live in a broken world, and it's really hard to trust people, and it's really hard to trust someone when they tell you to go out and stop people with headphones in to talk about the most controversial issue of our day. You know, so that's I would say is my least favorite, is when I build up really good relationships with students and they sometimes feel like they can't trust me because of one specific thing that they're uncomfortable with.
Yeah, and I think that takes, Jamie, I'm sure you resonate with this too, but every person is called to just constant surrender to the will of God, right? And just understanding that we have free will. We have the ability to accept or deny any given situation, right? So for me, I'm unfortunately kind of controlling in my nature. So I would love to just say like, hey, here's the time-tested way to do this. Here's the way you do it. Just do it, right? And I definitely have a just do it mentality. So it doesn't quite compute for me that other people don't necessarily work that way. It takes longer for people to kind of work themselves into something. But like, as someone who's a mentor, seeing from the outside, like a scenario that Jamie or I have witnessed maybe 100 times before, right? The same scenario playing out. But as students, that's part of your learning process too. Sometimes you have to go through the hard stuff yourself to learn how things actually work. And I wish I could spare you guys from some of those pains, those trials and suffering, but I also understand that it's those trials, those sufferings that actually make you more of who you are. If you let it become an actual formative thing. Like we all have to suffer. We all have to go through hard stuff, but you can either suffer for nothing or you could suffer for something and unite it with Jesus. Right. So that's something that's hard. Like recognizing that people can take your advice or not, and then they have to pay the consequences. And I wish I could like preserve you from that. But also recognizing I also give bad advice sometimes. So take it with a grain of salt.
Alrighty, I'm gonna have to wrap things up because I do gotta get going. I know we can just sit and talk for hours.
I'll have to try to do it again sometime.
Part 2.
Yeah, definitely appreciate you guys coming out and talking with us a little bit, giving us a little too much credit.
We do our best.
Glory to God.
And I really hope we can get you guys on here a lot more and have a lot more discussions for future episodes.
Yeah, I'll say, it's been an absolute pleasure as always. I mean, I can't see you, Jamie, I'm sorry, but at least seeing Allison, seeing you too, it always brings a smile to my face. You're just some of the most pleasant people to talk to. And I can't say it enough. You guys, you are our role models. We wouldn't be here without you guys, and we just couldn't be. We need your guys' help to get us to the point where we are and where we're going to go. So as we wrap this up, I want to give special thanks to Deacon Jeff Compton, as always.
Thank you.
Setting up all the cameras and everything, and Holy Family Radio for hosting us. Thanks to our tech guy, who's working very hard behind the scenes, as always, and gets very little credit for the work he does. So thanks, man.
Appreciate it.
As we wrap up, yes, thank you, Allison and Jamie, for taking the time out of your day to just talk with us, and I do appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. It's been awesome to chat
Yeah,
with you
thank
guys.
you.
Anytime.
No problem. As we wrap up, thank you all.
Thank you. Bye.
God bless.